In today's episode I'm going to be doing a health check and making sure that our freshly rebuilt engine is ready for the dyno. So yes, an engine health check, something that is essential. If you're thinking about taking your car up to the dyno, you want to make sure that your engine is in tip-top condition before you take it up there. There's no point taking it up there and expecting your dyno tuner to fix everything for you. So we're going to start by flushing the oil system. We're going to be pouring this in, letting that run through and clear out everything, make sure it's all as free and clear as possible. We'll also be fitting a brand new oil filter and topping that off with some fresh new oil. We'll also be doing the same to the coolant system. We'll run some flush through that, flush it through a few times, try and get the coolant a bit clearer, and then topping it up with the correct mix of water and antifreeze. And we'll be finishing off this mini service with a brand new fuel filter, because I think it's time it was changed. Let's crack on. It's James! He's here to help! James is currently struggling with the child lock on the engine flush. So we've run the engine up to temperature, getting the oil all nice and hot, and James is now going to pour the flush in.
Everywhere else. Oh yeah, that was well done.
So we've poured that in. We'll start the engine up. We've got to run it for 15 minutes at a fast idle to let that stuff do its work, and then we'll be able to drain the oil and change that. Okay, so we've let the engine run for 15 minutes with that engine flush in it. Next thing we're going to do, jack up the car, drain the oil. What are you doing, James?
Getting me some plug undone. Now, do we reckon I'm going to get this right?
Oh! Oh dear.
It's still going.
Blub 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 blub.
You've got the vent hole plugged up. That was a disaster.
It's a good start to the day, wasn't it, James?
Yeah.
Well, if we leave that to drain for a bit, we change the oil filter.
Yeah. Where's... Oh, wow.
Under the inlet manifold.
I'll let you do that. That looks fun.
Thank you, James. So James has very kindly agreed to let me change the oil filter.
I just got hot oil over my...
So, Mark 1 mx5s make the oil filter really nicely accessible for you. I've made it even worse by fitting a coolant reroute. So you've got to reach down in there. You can probably get to it from underneath. I'm going to try it from the top first, and if that fails I'll try it that way. Guess who tightened up this oil filter when they put the engine together? It was me! And it's tight. I'd have a lot better access if this wasn't here. Should we drain the coolant and get this out of the way?
Yep.
Yeah. We're going to drain the coolant and get this out of the way. So, if you're lucky like me, you'll have a drain bung on the bottom of your radiator. Most Mark 1 mx5s do have this. It's a plastic cross-headed bung. You can get those out. It makes it a lot easier to drain the fluid. Let's go and do it. And try not to get burnt. That wasn't very tight. The inevitable damage.
Well, it's yeah, it's going to be hot and also pressurised, I think, Bill.
Hot.
So let that just weep for a minute.
We are not professionals. What I don't want to do is drop the bung in the coolant.
Just be careful it's not pressurised and it doesn't just shoot off.
The glove's starting to get quite hot. I might just get my face out of the way.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna. This isn't pressurised here. Oh, you've got the bung out anyway.
Got the bung out, yeah.
Oh, look at the colour. Colour is beautiful.
There's a load of bolts in this.
They come out your radiator.
Yeah.
Holds a lot of fluid, this. Massive radiator.
A lot of murky water. We're on antifreeze, kids. So in order to hopefully make removing this oil filter easier, we've drained the coolant and moved the coolant reroute out of the way. It's given us a bit more access, so let's give it another go. It's tight. It's really tight. I didn't put it on that tight.
Now, now.
So these are the lengths to which we've gone. We've removed the inlet manifold support bracket and we're still struggling to get the thing off.
It's only been on a week.
I blame myself.
Yeah, so do I.
Curse you. Today we're not changing the oil filter. So James has gone gorilla on it after I loosened it for him.
I'm much stronger than you.
Oh, are you? Okay.
I don't understand how it's still so tight. Okay, now it's coming out.
I'm waiting for the victory. Way! Alright then. Well done, James.
No.
So when you eventually manage to get your old filter off, before you put your new filter on, what you want to do, take your finger, get some oil and just spread it on the O-ring so that it goes on nicely, and then it should, in theory, when you need to change it again, make it a lot easier to get off. Go ahead and pop it back in.
Not do it up gorilla type.
And not gorilla it. Next! So what we're doing here is just a continuation of the coolant system flushing. We've removed this heater pipe from the back of the engine and hooked up the hose pipe, and the other matrix pipe we've got just going with a pipe venting down to the floor. We're just running clean water through the system to try and flush out all the rubbish. We've already had a piece of silicone float up to the top of the radiator. And we'll do this until the water runs nice and clear, and then we should be good to carry on.
Fairness, it looks pretty good now, but
That doesn't.
alright, shall I plug this up then? I'll just put my thumb over this.
Yeah? I'll do this and take the bung out the bottom.
Yeah, okay.
Ah! James! Why? Is that just because you found out the cameras were on?
Revenge.
Yes. Best served lukewarm.
Yeah, at least it wasn't cold.
Lukewarm and slightly rusty. Okay, so we're done flushing the coolant out now. We've made one hell of a mess, but the water coming through now is pretty much clear, so we're happy with that. We're ready to proceed. What we're doing next, James? Fluids in?
Fluids in, I think.
Fluids in. That'll be fresh oil, coolant and antifreeze. So we're at the point now where fluids are being returned to the engine. We've poured in the antifreeze. James is topping up the coolant. I'm about to top up the oil. And hopefully not make a massive mess.
Oh, what's this? Stop.
Glug, glug.
It's astonishing how much this thing takes.
Big ass radiator! And then, oi! Oi! He thinks he's funny. Well, he is funny, but don't encourage him. Funny looking. Right, just check this level and then. Okay, go for it. What did you do? Right, so the final part of this odyssey of making a mess is replacing fuel filter, which is on the driver's side at the rear of the vehicle behind this plastic cover, which is held on by a couple of those plastic crosshead screw clips. So we're going to start by removing those. Got one. So these are the little clips you've got. You've got the plastic bit that fits into the bodywork, and then you've got a plastic screw. You've got to wind the screw out so that this will compress, and then you can pull it out. I think this might be one of those occasions where I resort to
Violence?
something like that.
Or are you just cutting it off?
I might be. I need other tools that I don't have here. So here we have the fuel filter. First thing we're going to do is loosen off the nut securing it to the car. Okay, before I take that out, I'm going to pinch off and move these devil clips. You ready for the shower?
I'm not under it, I'm alright.
There's no fuel coming out of that anyway. That's one side. Probably the easy side. Aha! Oh no!
Is that just from the stuff that's in
from
the filter?
Well, it's clean. It tastes alright.
Said no one ever about petrol. Smells good, tastes bad.
I said it tastes alright, not tastes good. I'm not a monster.
Sometimes catch him licking the fuel hoses at petrol stations.
Only when I've had a particularly taxing day. So that's how you do that. Okay, so to finish up our health check, we're going to do a compression check on each cylinder. James, take it away. $175.
Oh wow. That's immense.
That is. And a go. 175.
So the rings are bedded in then.
Right, cylinder number 3. Go for it. Hang on. That's nearly 190.
Seriously.
And last but not least, cylinder number 4. Hit it. $175.
Well, can't argue with that.
That's better than it was. There we go then. Well, there you have it. That's the fluids changed, the engine flushed, fuel filter replaced, and excellent compression readings on all 4 cylinders. I'd say this car's pretty much ready for the dyno.